Welcome to the Undrafted, Uncensored cast of Pod. Hosted by Nick Archuleta. Mosted by Colin Zanker. And last but certainly is least, Joseph Goodwin.
That's right, everybody. Welcome in to the Undrafted Uncensored. I'm taking over the start of this show today because I want to start it off with a very happy birthday to my Aunt Ronnie out in New Jersey. Had a wonderful time seeing you. I'm taking over the start because I get to for this moment in time, and Nick and Joe let me also. But I want to say love you very much. Thank you for the great time that I had out there and for watching the show and tuning in and like everyone else that we say, like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your mama. I told my aunt, and she watches. Thank you, Aunt Ronnie. Love you.
See, it works.
And don't worry, Aunt Ronnie. I'll keep throwing him softball so he sounds smart.
Hey, that'll work. I appreciate it. But
and go Yankees.
Go Yankees. Yes. Had a wonderful time visiting Yankee Stadium. I'll switch it back over to Nick, and he can get us into the actual sports stuff. But just wanted to say love you and thank you for watching.
Happy birthday.
Enjoy that 27th. Colin really made sure to remind us it was 27 years that you'll be celebrating. So have some fun, have some cake. Go to Cat's Deli. That's a good birthday right there. Go to Cat's.
Sure, yeah.
Well, they're in Jersey.
Doesn't matter. You can take the train.
I can take the train.
New York, New Jersey Transit. Come on.
Yeah, they
I'm
could.
very versed in that train.
I have a feeling that it's more of a family affair type of thing that is going on.
Okay.
As long as she isn't doing any cooking or anything else, that's all that matters.
Yeah, make everybody cater to you, including foot massages.
Unless you want to cook,
Oh no, she always says she wants to cook, but just let everyone else do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing. Every time going down to the Jersey Shore, it's like, what can I make you? What can I get? What do you want? What about this? What about that? Like, I'm good.
Just
Don't do anything.
See, that's when you take advantage of it, like on the third or fourth day, because by that point you're tired of buying food, and it's not that you can't afford any more food. It's just you get so worn out just buying food that you're like, I want a home meal. I don't care what it is.
I'm excited to go back in a few months and see them. Hopefully, as long as it all works out again. But
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
New York's a beautiful town. One of my favorites. You know what's not my favorite though?
Losing football games?
Yeah, I'm dreading Sunday again.
Quarterbacks who don't throw touchdowns.
I'm trying to convince myself that this is a trap game for the Buccaneers. I'm really trying.
I mean, it is, but that just means that they're still favored to win.
I'm trying to talk myself into it. So much has gone on this week. It's really hard for me to accept some of these things that these coaches are saying about Bo Nix, and I'm watching these other rookie quarterbacks. Drake May got his first little appearance last night. Oh wow,
last night, yes,
yeah, that was last night. Ooh,
and he couldn't find Jalen Polk. Damn it, in the end zone. Tell
us how you really feel, Colin.
Yeah, don't hold back, buddy.
Yeah.
I have been one player away from turning $40 into 1,000 3 straight weeks.
Yeah. Oh, that's painful. There's something about the transition from college to professional. The pro game has shifted so much. The college game has become locked on that RPO, and I don't know what these coaches were expecting Bo Nix to be, because yes, he was a good quarterback in college. Yes, I will own I was all about the Broncos drafting him instead of Brock Bowers. It is what it is.
Nick was Bo Nix, fan club.
Yeah. But Colin, I need you to help me here. Talk me off the ledge, because right now I'm ready to fire every one of these coaches. And I know you can't, because it's week 3. And I'm trying to tell myself it's week 3.
Well, I mean, you can fire them all.
Yeah, why
how
not?
long did it take Bourbon Urban to get out of Jacksonville?
Well, it kind of doesn't help when you kick your kicker too.
Well, yeah, and amongst other things, idiotic things that he did.
I don't know.
Tebow.
I was kind of
For
proud of him for the bar thing.
to talk you off the ledge, I don't know if I'm the right person necessarily to talk you off the ledge about firing and getting rid of. The one thing I will say is, I mentioned this before, and that's if you get rid of a coach like Sean Payton that quickly and have a quick hook, it's a red flag to any other coach coming into this organization in the future. So if you're not giving him a fair shake with the quarterback, I'm just talking Sean Payton specifically here. This doesn't include Vance Joseph or, oh man, running backs coach. I can't remember his name for some reason. Either way, I will look it up in a second.
Eric Studesville?
It is not Studesville. It's not the guy who took over for 2 games at the end of the season, 1 game. But to go into Sean Payton, the wanting to fire everybody makes sense because what we have seen has not changed in the last 3 seasons from the Denver Broncos. It's been the same thing that he did in New Orleans. And the problem is that Sean Payton has never developed a quarterback. Yeah, he got Drew Brees to another level with his playbook and his schemes and the talent that he was able to surround him with, but he's never developed someone. So as a Broncos fan, we haven't seen a Broncos quarterback developed here ever. You know, like John Elway is the last one, and even then, there are a lot of people around who never saw the full transition from him as a rookie going into a pro. There are a lot less of us who have seen that than there are that have watched the Broncos fail for so many years. It's been a myriad of bringing in guys, and this even started with Jake Plummer. That is getting to an AFC Championship game, obviously losing to the Steelers. That's been a familiar thing to the Broncos, except for one Tebow throw, miraculous throw. It's been a constant over the years. So
that was nice revenge for 05.
to talk you off the ledge, it should just be it's about the future of the organization and what you want for the organization right now. You have to have some sort of consistency, even if that consistency doesn't work out. And what I was just looking for was Clint Kubiak, the now coordinator for the New Orleans Saints,
who got rid of all of Peyton's plays.
Yes, you saw that comment. So they've scored 90 points in their first 2 games. And what basically it came down to was when they hired Clint Kubiak to be their offensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, who was their head coach, was still using all of the old schemes that they had used over the past, 18, 19 seasons, how many ever seasons it's been since Sean Payton was there. And Kubiak came in and said, let's break this thing down to the studs. Let's make it basic, because in college, it is a much more basic game. There aren't these complex play calls. There aren't these, left, right, Z, X, Y, Nick, Arch, Joe, Good, Collins, Hank, Profit, Failure, Dance, Pop, Days, Streaming, blah, 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 calls anymore in the NFL. They are very simple. Get to the line, get the call out, and go make a play. And so these complex systems have gone, they're archaic at this point in time. And some teams are still using them. I do remember Tua calling out one of his plays last year in the press conference. I think he probably did it again this year, where the media had asked him if he would name a play, and
that was just a test for a concussion.
It was just, he didn't pass it this past week.
Sorry.
So when I sit here and say talk you off the ledge,
that play
it's going to be tough. It's tough to not talk you off of it when, like I said, I think this defense, they're still below average, and they held a mediocre team in Pittsburgh Steelers, or the below average team in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm to not that many plays, and I kind of wanted to go back on that too. When we were talking on our show the other day, when you got to remember one of the reasons why the Broncos held them to so few yards, because of those penalties. In one drive, there was like 75 yards worth of penalty or plays that got called back due to penalties.
Yeah.
That the Broncos got very lucky to have such a low total. So there are some things that I got reminded of after our show that really helped the Broncos numbers look much better. If there's anyone that should be fired in this coaching staff, like I said, A, it's the running game, but B, it's going to be Vance is the next guy on the chopping block. Your head coach is not going to be the one to go right now where you have to have some consistency. And that's because you have to look at the future of the organization. Any coaches you want to bring in here.
Lou Ianni is his name, by the way.
Lou, okay. Because he came over, he was in New Orleans, right, with Sean? Because I know special teams came with Sean. And I want to say he was in New Orleans also.
I'm sure most of the assistant coaches were in New Orleans in some capacity at some point. I don't think Davis Webb ever was. But other than that, I feel like pretty much everybody came over from New Orleans. I guess, obviously, Vance Joseph didn't.
Yeah. Before Denver, he had 5 years as a running backs coach and recruiting coordinator for Northwestern.
I was going to say, I know that Sean Payton's staff really isn't a ton of New Orleans people.
I thought it was mostly, okay.
It felt like, but didn't it feel like he did bring?
I'm pretty sure it might just be the special teams guy.
It might be.
Well, Lombardi was there with him in New Orleans, wasn't he? Joe Lombardi, the OC? Quotation marks OC?
Well, let me see.
I mean, maybe it's just those two then. I just...
all it takes is two guys, and
Los
just assume
Angeles
that they're all
Chargers.
the same, you know.
He was with the Chargers before Denver.
You're with the Chargers before Denver.
Everything keeps talking about the Chargers. I don't care about the Chargers. Nobody cares about the Chargers. Chargers don't care about the Chargers. We have spending 7 years with New Orleans, 07 to 13. There it is.
Okay.
So that was Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Super Bowl.
Victory in Super Bowl XLIV against the Colts.
Yep.
Slivy. That was 09, I want to say.
So that still
Probably.
just kind of goes back to that point that these play calls and what they're doing is not working for today's player. And is there something to be said for the old type of football that we were watching in the complex play calls? Now I think it's a little bit more of, we know what you're going to do. We kind of have an idea. See if you can beat us.
See, here's my question. Oh, go ahead.
And there's just a lot less trickery in the game. The trickeration has gone away. The onside kick trickeration has gone away.
Yeah.
As we noticed last week. That's just kind of where I sit with it, is that
the trickery.
These guys need to come back come to the new age and change some of their old school thinking. Not that some of those things can't work and be implemented, but you can't play the game the same way as it used to be played.
No. And so I'm going to pose a question then. And did you guys play Little League football?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of give you guys an idea of play calling when I played. So, our first play every game, it was scripted. We knew what it was. I read shift, 3-back motion, 26 dive. Every game started the exact same way. And I don't know how nobody caught on to that for over 5 years, but I digress. It's not a hard call though. You're in the I right. The shift is to send out the receivers. You got the 3-back motion, and the 26 to the 2-back takes it to the 6 hole, and it's obviously a dive. What in a time now where plays are given to a headset inside a helmet, and coaches in paranoia, baseball, they do it all the time too. They cover their mouths. So you're covering your mouth trying to call this extensive play that's 48 characters long and a triple word score. And I don't know what we're trying to do other than a septuple word score and clear our entire board of our Scrabble pieces, because we have to have every letter in the alphabet involved in these stupid play calls.
All I can think of is the Dan Campbell Applebee's commercial. They're never going to see it coming.
Yeah.
Cover your mouths.
He's looking for a new house right now.
Yeah, right?
No, I think he found a new house.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Yeah,
I wonder what his address is.
Let's find out.
We are not doxing Dan Campbell, all right? Freaking Guns Mahoney would kick my ass, all right?
Just kidding.
You know how much coffee
we are not even putting, strike that from the record, everybody.
It was a joke.
See, Joe, I thought you were going to go a total opposite way. I thought you were going to say, instead of having the thing covering your mouth, you should just go this full CSU.
Get the
banner holding guy holding the flag over Norvell's, just walking in front of Norvell with this huge banner.
That's my favorite thing. Yeah, I want the whole big fucking flag over Sean Payton. That's exactly what I want. Though I don't want him to be able to see the field. I just want a big, stupid flag. You notice how he did stop using it after week 3 against CU? I don't think they even used it during the CU game. So they either realized it was stupid, or I still feel like it was because he thought that Deion Sanders for some reason was going to try to steal his plays. But I want big flags. That's great. Yes. But sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Why do we have to be so complex anymore? Like you said, Colin, the game's changed. And all these teams are vying for any of these quarterbacks that are even remotely sniffing a Heisman. And so, any team above pick 8, we'll say, I mean, Nick's was, outside of that 8, but I'm just throwing a number out there. The top 8 are trying to get a quarterback that's sniffing the Heisman. If they don't need one, then they obviously are trying to pick up the other players. But you should know at that point, you have a very limited window to teach these kids coming into the NFL a complex playbook. I mean, by the time the draft is done, they do all their little press kits and everything. You have OTAs, and then there's a break in between where, yes, it's the quarterback's responsibility to go through the playbook and learn it, but you can only do so much for so long. And, I can read a playbook left and right, but at some point I'm going to get bored and I'm going to put it down. And then it's August and I'm like, oh, I should probably read that again, because that's just human nature at this point. We're at the point in this society where our attention span's short. And so, he'd rather be out there throwing the football around with his new teammates or his friends to get physically acclimated than reading a playbook probably. And, the older guys are going to know the playbook left and right because they've been playing it for 5-6 years. Why are we trying to put these kids behind the 8 ball?
I mean, I don't think he's trying to put him behind the 8 ball. He's just running his offense. And his offense is relatively complicated for sure. But he's had plenty of guys that have been able to run it also throughout his career. But if you ever listen to a Sean Payton press conference, like I've listened to too many of them, the way that he talks, he stutters, he repeats words. It's infuriating to have to cut up. But he wastes so much time just in his mannerisms and the way that he speaks. So it definitely does feel a little bit archaic, but at the same time, there's pluses to having a complicated offense. It's harder for the defense to be able to key on. But I think that he still does need to modernize the way that he is complex. I feel like the most important complexity in the modern NFL is pre-snap motion. Being able to use that to read the defense and see what kind of coverage they're in, give you a little bit of a hint before you snap the ball. That's the kind of thing I want to see more from him than almost anything else. And maybe he's waiting to be able to implement it more because he doesn't feel like it's time. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think he's, trying to put anyone behind the 8 ball or anything, but it definitely, it's why you see players like little Jordan Humphrey, getting a lot more playing time, because guys like Marvin Mims don't seem to have it figured out. And maybe that's it's probably a little bit on both Mims and the coaching staff, because the coaching staff should be able to get him a guy that talented on the field, get him to understand enough to get him on the field at some point, because the dude he's lightning. You look at the Chiefs with Xavier Worthy, they give him an end around to get him utilized. Obviously not just in kick returns, because I'm pretty sure he's still doing at least punt returns, maybe kick returns also. And with Bo Nix, I think it's going to take time too, because he needs to get those live reps. He needs to see what guys do in games and see how coverages change, seeing seeing the differences between how the Steelers are going to defend. And this week against the Buccaneers is going to be, even though they have a lot of guys out, Todd Bowles is no fucking slouch. Like, he's going to bring some weird blitzes, and it's going to be another probably rough day. But Bo Nix kind of needs those experiences under his belt to be able to get used to that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to take time regardless, but also these little things we have to pay attention to and just kind of keep in the back of your mind for at the end of the season, because you're right, Nick, it's too early to talk about firing anybody right now. He's going to get at least this season, and then I think partially into next season is really when you can start talking about hot seat for Sean Payton. But you got a lot of these things in the back of your mind, like, man, how much innovation is really here, how much, and it feels like half-hearted old school football too. Like, he's going to have these old school sensibilities with complexities and shit. Have the old school sensibility to run the damn ball and stick with the running game, and make your offensive line happy. I know not everybody on the offensive line is a good run blocker, and it's not been super effective, but fuck, you have to stick with it in order for it to be good later. That's how running the football works, even in the modern NFL. So I don't know, man. There's definitely a lot of disjointedness to it, but it's gonna be rough, man. That's what they, I think, committed to when they released a guy like Tim Patrick and didn't really go for trying to have the best guys on the field and going more for developing younger guys and kind of planning for the future. Is this might be a rough season where we're looking at drafting, some really talented players like Travis Hunter. I love all three of us said
the one thing two things from that. First, the Broncos did play the Steelers and the Seahawks, who both have Steelers probably one of the better, if not best, run defenses in the NFL. And the Seahawks are up there too, as far as their defensive line goes and their front goes. So it was going to be tough sledding. So I understand sticking with trying the running game, especially when you have a rookie quarterback. So we'll see how Sean Payton adjusts with this upcoming game against the Buccaneers, because the Buccaneers, I believe Vita Vea is out for this game.
Vita Vea and Antoine Winfield.
Okay, so this should be a Javonte Williams opportunity, or Jaleel McLaughlin. It really should be a chance for those guys to shine. If they don't, even with the offensive line missing some pieces, McGlinchey is out for 4 weeks, correct?
Yeah, he's
guaranteed 4 weeks. I think Powers is going to be fine.
Yeah.
And
Palshevsky is going to be the right tackle making his debut.
Yeah, and then Bowles, I think, is fine as well from what I last saw. So the offensive line, while missing one guy, one of the main guys, highest paid offensive lineman, or second highest paid, Bowles is the highest, right? Either way.
Yeah, probably.
They should be able to try and take advantage in this game. The problem is that then they're going up against the Jets, who just stuffed Ramondre Stevenson, and they have 10 days rest in the next game. So if there is a game to hopefully get your running game on track, it would be this one against the Bucs. We'll see if that happens. But back to where you started everything off, and I want to thank everyone for listening, tuning in, watching. Make sure you hit the like button on this and subscribe for everything. And I just want to say you do that before you go off and listen to Sean Payton actually talk.
Please.
Because go listen to one of his conferences, and when you brought that up, it made me wonder if the way that he speaks in his press conferences is the way that he calls his plays.
Oh, it is.
Well, no. Well, you can't say
that with effect.
With
of course we can. Chase Daniel has said it. in an interview with Sean Payton for Chase Daniel's podcast. It was Chase Daniel and the chick he does his podcast with. He was talking about, man, being in a huddle and hearing the plays called from Sean Payton is an experience. He gets panicky. He is constantly going on and repeating stuff. Like Chase Daniel has said that Sean Payton is just like that in play calling, if not a little worse.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I just don't know if that has even changed or anything along those lines, because that was, when was Chase Daniel with him? Like, that was like 6-7 years ago, right?
He was a backup for Drew Brees. Later in his career, maybe not quite at the very end.
So,
but,
I mean, I guess what I'm getting to is, like, we don't know if that is still how it's called. If we had the XFL coaches mic, which would be dope right there, or what, USFL, and it's not XFL anymore. Whatever.
Yeah.
I wish we had the coaches mic anyways, because then we could hear actually how he is calling plays and what's going through into the quarterback's head. Because in his press conferences, you're right, he does stutter a lot. He does stumble. There are a bunch of pauses and ums and uhs, kind of seemingly unsure of himself. So when you think about that, if he's
right
calling
and left,
if he's calling plays like that into an ear set or an earpiece in someone's helmet that is trying to overcome the 12th man in Seattle, that's not an easy thing to decipher, and it would make it more understandable why it's difficult to get in and out of the huddle. And maybe why a wristband would be a good idea. And like I said, it goes back to the archaic parts. If you're not making it that simple, especially on the road, you got to rethink some things. Just because it worked for you when you had a Hall of Fame quarterback doesn't mean it's going to work for you now with a rookie quarterback.
So I'm going to ask a question, and I'm not trying to be a dick about this. I'm not.
I think you are.
Not trying to be an asshole.
Mm-hmm, sure.
At what point, as the OC, you listen to that going, because you know he's listening to it too. At what point do you not step in and go, Sean, we don't have time for this. Let me start calling these plays. Because, I mean, it's going to affect his pride, and it's going to be a punch in the junk. But at some point, this is about developing and winning. And sometimes you can't do both. I'm fully understanding that now. This is a rough ride right now we got going on. And you're not helping your quarterback at all if you're muddling your way like the Mississippi Mud Dance through a play.
Mississippi Mud Dogs.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, and you could even just get it to the point to where you're the one that calls the actual plays, but they're actually relayed to the quarterback by somebody who can speak clearly and concisely. You've got the play kind of in your head anyway before you're talking to the quarterback headset. Just, get it to the OC, or also just maybe give the OC more control. Maybe he's got some ideas. There's plenty of good offensive coaches that have given over play calling duties at times. You can kind of go back and forth too, like how Andy Reid did with Eric Bieniemy. But just try something else. But we'll see. Hopefully they get better. Hopefully they don't have to take these kind of measures and put it in somebody else's hands. But yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I think the one thing that we're going to have to see is if there is any sort of transformation over the next few weeks. It would be really interesting if some of the Colorado media would ask him about the play calling and if he would give up play calling duties, because I think that's a legitimate question with how inept this offense has been over the last 2 seasons. Like, why
hasn't that question been asked? Is my next question.
I don't know. Maybe everyone's afraid they're going to get primed and outcast blacklisted.
What's the question? There's a dude that asked him.
Let's just email Kliss.
But that also might be the reason why the Lombardi. I was just reading an email about for baseball. Wow, that might be why Lombardi hasn't asked for that. Maybe that's just their dynamic, and he's not going to ask that. It's just the way it's always been, so it's not going to change, which doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good thing. Like I think we sit here and see that something needs to change with this, maybe it is Sean Payton calling the plays, and maybe it is getting rid of some guys. But the way that Clint Kubiak went in there and revamped the Saints offense, 90 points through 2 games, guys. Like
That's called a hint. I know Alvin Kamara's been going off, and I love it.
Dude, he's pretty good. But
he's my running back.
There was a question asked because Sean Payton was talking about sticking with the running game and how they need to be better about that. And a dude asked him straight out, was like, so if you're talking about staying consistent with the running game, why did you only have 7 runs in the first half or whatever? And he's like, and he asked his dude real quick, like, how many snaps total do we have in the first half? And the guy says back 20. He's like, 7 out of 20. You're right. That's not good. And I'm the one calling the play, so that's on me. So he actually kind of said that himself without really being asked. He's like, yeah, that's on me for not being consistent enough with it and calling enough of those plays and sticking with it, if that's going to be the plan. But with a rookie quarterback, you can't be throwing as many times as they have and expect to win games. But at the end of the day, too, like, we know, I don't think Sean Payton's job is on the line until next year anyway. So this could be the kind of built-in rebuilding kind of year, and just, we'll really start to evaluate things next year for sure. So I don't know. We'll see, man.
Right. So before we move on, let's say it is a trap game for the Bucs and the Broncos end up pulling this out.
True.
How do they do it? We've seen 2 weeks of no changes, and we keep clamoring for a run game. What do the Broncos need to do to walk out of Tampa Bay with a dub?
Well, the recipe is actually pretty simple. You shut down Mike Evans. That's PS2's job. You hope that Rashard White is actually still kind of injured, which I personally don't, because I have him in fantasy all over the place, speaking of fantasy. And then Godwin just has an off game. Baker Mayfield has an off game, which he hasn't really had against the Broncos. If you remember the last time the Broncos saw Baker Mayfield,
I want to talk about it. December 25th.
There were not a lot of gifts for the Broncos in that one. It was a lot more coal in the stocking. And
I remember Patrick saying something too.
Yeah, something about getting
not
cooked.
Being the way to cook or something. Yeah.
There was.
That's not what he meant
Baker
to
Mayfield has had some very good history against the Broncos. Has played well. Even when he was in Cleveland, he's played well against the Broncos. So
he's a good quarterback. I don't know. I'm sorry. I jumped to Baker's defense a lot because the Browns are stupid and they let a good quarterback go, and they kind of messed him up.
Well, so did the Panthers in that case. But to go to Baker, Baker does have in his repertoire those games of idiocracy where you just don't know what the hell he is doing. So you're hoping for a game of idiocracy.
I love you.
You're hoping for Mike Evans to be shut down by PS2. Rashard White not to be healthy. Not that Bucky Irving is and their backup running back. Not that he's any slouch. He's like 6'2", 250. He's a big boy.
That's a lot of running.
And the only reason he dropped in the draft was because he didn't run at the combine. He actually went out on. I think he posted on Twitter the other day something, or it was in an interview where they asked about how he dropped in the draft and why he fell to the 4th round. He's like, well, because all these guys wanted to see me run in my underwear and not play football. And so, it like literally that's almost an exact quote. I promise you, if I had it, it's something very similar to that. It's
I believe it.
They wanted to see me run in my underwear.
I feel like I heard
about how I played football. So he's a big guy, which we'll see if the Broncos defense, I believe Franklin Myers did practice in full. I believe the defensive line is intact for this game. So it is the hopes that Baker Mayfield kind of has one of those idiot games, and they just, there is already some setup with their defensive linemen being out. So is it set up to be a trap game? It could be. I just think that the Bucks are in one of those modes after last season that they're ready to win now, and they're taking everything seriously because they know their division is theirs. That's theirs for the taking.
Yeah, it's a weak division.
They lost a heartbreaker in the playoffs too, so yeah, I think they're definitely galvanized. But I know I say this a lot when it comes to like what do the Broncos need to do to win, but it's turnovers. They got to win the turnover battle. If they can get some turnovers, maybe a touchdown off of some turnovers, or just some big plays in general, maybe out of the running game, maybe just someone breaking some tackles and making it easy on Bo. Hell, Bo Nix running it in for a touchdown again. Fuck it. I don't care. But they're going to need some kind of spark, big play on offense, maybe more than one, and a turnover or two on defense. And I think that's maybe how you sort of limit Chris Godwin, because you keep him off the field, because we love the idea of Riley Moss, but Riley Moss versus Chris Godwin, I don't love it. And they've been playing him in the slot a lot, which kind of does work out a little better for the Broncos, because I trust Jaquan McMillan more than I do Riley Moss right now to cover a guy like Chris Godwin. But it's going to be a slog. They're a better team than people give them credit for. Like last year, they kind of looked like one of those, like, oh yeah, whatever, journeyman quarterback, good receivers, good talent, whatever. But like, no, they're a solid team, and if they take it seriously enough, they can absolutely steamroll the Broncos. But if they look at the Broncos as the team that can't move the ball and they only have to score, what is it, 16 points? I'm kidding.
13.
If they score 16, the other Broncos can't score more than 13. If they fall into that mindset, anything can happen. But also, they could fall into that mindset and be right and still win, 16-13.
I think the Broncos can still win the turnover battle and still lose this game pretty easily. We've already seen that happen because you got to your point with them needing to score. If they win the turnover battle, they need to take advantage of those opportunities and score. That's where the problem lies for this team.
Yeah,
you can't score over 20 points. I mean, it's 2 games in, and we're still seeing the same team that is just inept on offense.
The only 2 players on the injury report that are out for the game right now, Baron Browning and Jale Skinner.
Okay, yeah.
Those are the only 2. Everybody else was in full practice today.
Man, my investment in Browning, we'll see what happens with that. I've made 6 cents off of it.
Did you actually do that, Baron Browning investment? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love
Why not?
it.
I like it.
He's one of my guys.
He might make... he might get a paycheck. I feel like Baron Browning is one of those guys. I know we're stuck on Broncos, but he's kind of one of those guys that I think means more to the Broncos than he does anybody else. So he may still get like a decent pay raise, but not anything massive, which the Broncos will love. They love underpaying guys that are pretty good. So you might actually get to see him stick around despite him being in a contract year. Sorry.
See, the thing is like this. I think people were looking at it weird. Like it's like a CD investment. I put $100 down, and then I get a % of his pay for the future. It's not going to make me millions of dollars, no, but I might make $20 off of it.
Huh.
Okay, cool. Like 100 turns into 120, whatever. Cool. I made some money, and I got to cheer for a player that I enjoy. If he never gets another contract again, then I made 6 cents and held up my $100 for a year. Not that great of a return, but whatever. As a fan, cool. I think it's a pretty fun thing.
Yeah, he makes a little bit of money too.
Hashtag not a sponsor, but you know who you are. If you'd like to sponsor us, I'd be more than happy to promote you. Since
we like sponsors.
Already did that.
Yeah.
Prediction time, Colin.
Oh, yeah. Broncos lose big. I think this defense once again gets exposed. Not only is Tampa a better team, but then you throw in the East Coast, travel to Florida, morning game, start of a long road trip, and Broncos lose by double digits. I don't think I need to say much more. I think it's probably like 28-12.
3?
Well, That was close to what I was going to say. I was saying 28-9.
Okay.
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's not like Pittsburgh where they have like an obvious weakness on one side of the ball. They're better. I think their defense is actually going to step up and look better than people think, even with Vea and Antoine Winfield out. I'm just hoping to see some growth out of Bo Nix. That's really it. That'll be a win in my book. But for the scoreboard in reality, I'm going to take the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
We're at the moral victory part.
Yeah.
You know, Nick, I actually had thought about doing a new segment, and now I don't know if I can do it for you.
You could.
I don't. You might have.
Did I screw everything up for you?
You might have shot it down. I was gonna think about trying to make something up before Sunday's show. It's all right. Yeah, make sure you tune in Sunday night, everybody. Sunday night at Sunday Night Football. During Sunday Night Football, we'll be going live again.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope.
Not
So
for the
we'll
whole
move to
game. Probably
tomorrow.
around halftime.
Yeah, around halftime. So moving on to tomorrow, Jay Norvell has to win a game to save his life right now. I just wanted to touch on that real quick as CSU hosts UTEP, and they'll be wearing their white Colorado unis. I do appreciate those. But the more important team right now is the team that's still trying to prove they're going to be better than last year, and that would be the CU Buffs, who are hosting Baylor. And Baylor, everybody keeps saying Baylor had their way with Air Force. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, they beat Air Force, but come on. Air Force doesn't get to recruit like other schools, so give them a little bit of lax on them. Leave my zoomies alone.
Well, I know, Joe, you did a lot of Air Force games last year, but the thing that, if you really want to dive into that, Air Force lost all their guys from last season that were part of that undefeated run that they had for most of the year until whatever happened at Mile High Stadium, that disaster. But they lost a lot of their mojo and leadership. So that Baylor game doesn't really matter. And we're going to have to see what happens with this weather in Denver. Or in Boulder.
Rain? You talking about the rain?
Wet balls.
I knew you were going to say it.
It's going to be – this will be an interesting test, and it will show if Shadur is, in all honesty –
the quarterback we think he is?
Well, I don't want to say the quarterback we think he is, but if he's actually the Heisman and the leader that we think he is. Heisman candidate, because if the weather is as bad as that, as it's predicted to be, he's going to have to swallow his pride, hand that ball off a bunch, and when he's asked to make plays, he's going to have to deliver in this game, because this is one of those games where if this weather comes down, this is a highlight reel, like history in the type of lore type of game that he could have, because it is
the rain game,
the Mud Bowl, the rain game.
Yeah. So
he needs to make some rain plays and maybe rein it in with some of his idiotic cover zero. I'm throwing the ball deep.
If he can just make it rain out there with touchdowns, that'd be great.
Buffs are favored by 2. The over-under is 51.5.
Oh, I'd go under.
I would too. I had to look at that twice.
Yeah, rain.
To make sure I wasn't crazy.
You might be, but that's not one of the symptoms.
I'm logging on right now to do that. Joe, tell us why or how the Buffs can win this while I figure out how to bet the under.
Oh, it's real easy. You score more points than the other team.
Okay. In-depth analysis, Joe. Good.
Got it. I'm here to help, guys.
Short and sweet sometimes.
What I understand, Baylor is a running team, so it's going to be another one of those opposites. I was going to say attract, but they don't. That's not how sports work. But another kind of, playing an opposite kind of team. I'm not sure if they're as good of a defense as Nebraska, but it's going to be a slog. They're going to have to either find a way to pass in the rain, or they're going to have to figure out some kind of run game to be able to move the ball and keep Baylor off the field. and really try to keep their balls dry, because we all know as soon as your balls get wet, you're in trouble.
Yeah, CU's actually favored in this one. I just put it in.
2 point. Yeah, they're favored by 2.
That makes sense.
The over-under is 51.5.
Yep, I just put it in.
Sweet.
That's actually, it's not a bad bet.
Yeah, I just maybe after last weekend, Shedeur having the whole offensive line at his presser or post game thing, that did something. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm very intrigued to see how the Buffs enter the Big 12. Their first time in 16 years, was it?
Yeah, something like that.
It's been a while since they were in the Big 12, and so this will be a nice little introduction back into it, because Baylor, amongst those Texas teams, while they've had some really good players, RG3 come out of there as probably the most well-known one, even though he's not on TV anymore. Oops, what's up, France? I think that the Buffs probably have more talent, just even with Shedeur and Travis, than those guys.
Yeah.
But once again, we go back to, are they a team?
And I think that's the big thing, is them coming together as a team. I mean, they beat CSU as a team, and I don't know why, I feel like that was just kind of the monkey on their back, though, that the game was so close last year that they're coming in this year, and obviously, some of the interview stuff came from an interview with Romy, but I mean, it still got out there, and they dominated CSU like they were supposed to. And I think now that they've had a chance to dominate, your in-state rival, maybe now it's time to start stepping it up. And now we've got to focus on conference play, because there's no more easy games from this point on. It's battling, and they want a bowl game. And the only way you do that is if you win.
Yeah, that momentum was huge from getting that win against CSU. They needed that for sure, and they're going to need more. They're going to need that to keep going. That was the head start I think they really needed. Sadly, it sucked they got the loss against Nebraska, but shit, they might have needed that punch in the mouth too.
Yeah, I think
Nebraska,
so.
who laid an egg against Illinois today.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they
lost. Doesn't surprise me. I think that was another one of those games where that was their Super Bowl. They destroyed CU, and I don't know if they'll look that good again.
Appreciate the love, Matt. Thank you. Don't worry, it's just on my feed.
Oh, okay.
I was like, who's Matt? But thanks,
I was like,
yeah.
Cool. Where's it at? I'm. How come I'm not seeing it? Anyway,
the old Denver Browns.
Oh. Anyway.
I'm ready not to get plunked on my first at bat this weekend, guys. Just so you know.
You know who hasn't been plunked yet? Well, he's been plunked. He's been plunked a few times, but as of recently, not very often.
He plunked the Rockies tonight.
Is that some sort of innuendo?
Yeah. He went Yahtzee
again.
Yeah.
So if I look that up on Urban Dictionary, what do I get?
I heard something about Urban Dictionary. That's all I heard. How lucky are we to be able to watch Shohei Ohtani?
Very.
This is amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's hard to put into words. We talk about watching history and witnessing history and being a part of it. Being at the Denver Nuggets first parade, I've seen Shohei play multiple times. I can't even remember, but every time he's out, every time I watch him step onto the field, even if it was the All-Star game or when he was playing with the Angels, it's just he's a different animal.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing to be able to sit here and watch this, because every generation has their guys, whether, in whatever sport it is. It's Jordan, it's LeBron. It was Ruth for a lot of people. There was talk that Pujols was going to be the best ever. There were all of these conversations, but in just a few seasons, it's been a very short amount of time, Shohei has shattered and created new records. So to be able to watch that happen, I mean, it literally is showtime.
Yeah.
When he comes, when he hit his 50th home run, there was a sign right behind him that said, "I skipped school to watch history today." And this is in Miami. I mean, I was in Miami earlier this year, and yeah, they were playing the Rockies, so not a big deal. But you don't see a lot of LA Dodger fans in Miami going to games,
No.
and that place was packed. And the Dodgers are great. I know they have a following, but Miami still, their average attendance this year is in the bottom quarter, even the bottom fifth. I want to say they're close to the very bottom out of all the teams.
You're welcome, Chicago.
Yeah, the White Sox are not good either, but it's like the Angels, the White Sox, the A's, and the A's have kind of bumped up a little bit because it's the last season.
Because they got the Yankees in town right now, and then
they're wrapping up their
they're playing the final games in the Oakland Coliseum.
So, but the Marlins are down at the bottom of attendance, and so to see that place packed, it just shows you how transformative he is for the game of baseball, which I love to see it. That
like who is Mike Trout? You know.
Well, I appreciate you chiming in, Roberto. I'm sorry. The problem is Mike Trout gets hurt a lot. And that's why a lot of people are starting to forget him, because Ohtani is taking that shadow from Los Angeles, casting it over Anaheim and almost over the entire United States right now, because once again, Mike Trout has another injury that's taken him out for a season. And as much as I would love Mike Trout to have been our generation's player, he's losing his opportunity, and it's going to go to Shohei.
Yeah, no, Trout was. And Trout had an opportunity to leave Anaheim and go sign anywhere he wanted. He re-upped with the
to his
Angels.
Credit.
And I don't blame him. You know, he liked it there. The organization, why am I blanking on his name, the owner? Moreno? Moreno. Artie Moreno, right? Yeah, Artie Moreno. Promised him a lot of things, and I just don't think any of those things came to fruition, because they did bring in guys, they did bring in players, but none of them panned out, and it's just hasn't worked. And so, yeah, he's 33, but his age is much older. His baseball age is much older because of the injuries, and he wants to continue to play the outfield, but he keeps getting hurt. So yeah, Trout was talked about as the best and could have been the best ever talked about, but what Shohei is doing with pitching and hitting is unbelievable, and stealing bases. It is, I mean, I never thought I would see anything like this.
No.
Someone that could compare to the lore of Ruth, but we're watching Ruth-esque or better than Ruth type of numbers now.
Ruthian.
Ruth-esque. Yeah, that is the phrase, Ruthian.
Yeah.
Ruth adjacent.
Well, and it's I mean, it's kind of frustrating because he's a Dodger, and it's, for me, it's hard to root for the Dodgers. Oh, don't get me started on Glaber. That's gonna
we have to
show.
Roberto, we got it. We have to get to the victory formation, or else I'm sure Nick would have a rant on that.
These guys can talk baseball for days. Fucking days.
Tune in on Sunday night. We'll probably have some baseball talk, but we'll have a baseball pick.
Let's just say real quick that Glaber may not be in the Bronx next year. Go ahead.
We'll have a baseball pick coming up in just a moment in the victory formation.
This is the victory formation.
All right, boys, here we go. Best play in football. 6 right tight diamond victory on 1. Break.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, it's jam.
The Pick'em segment, proving that Colin Zanker is the most humble man in the history of time. Least. Featuring Nick Archuleta wishing he was somewhere else. And Joe Goodman just kind of winging it.
That's right. This is the victory formation, where we make real bets with fake money and keep track of it to see who has the highest win at the end of the year. And, I don't know if it's being humble or just right when you don't lose like I did not lose last week. I went 2-0 or in the last 2 games, excuse me. I did lose 1 game last week, but that's just the stupid Dolphins that we all picked. So technically I went 4-5, or 4-1. In the last 2 games that lead up to today's victory formation, first game was Falcons at Eagles. Well, Nick and Joe, y'all love the Eagles, and I told you, be careful. Falcons come out victorious at the end with plus 200. I won $30. And then we moved on to the Pats versus the Jets. Well, Joe, you went 0-2 because you chose the Pats for some reason.
I chose the wrong one, yeah.
Because if we all would have picked the Jets, they would have lost. So, so that means I'm the big winner of the week. Nick did pick the Jets along.
You're welcome, guys.
In that matchup also. So I won 43.68 this week. Nick won 13.68. Joe, as I said, you lost $20. Nick, you're still in first at 651. Joe, you're still in second at 562.
Cool.
I, though, am coming up close. I got 545.80 in the bank. And you guys have seen some of my bets that I've put out there that I've won recently. I'm telling you, Nick, you called it. You were worried about the profit coming back, and then the hot streak starting once football started, and it is in full force right now, my friends. I also hit Trey Turner tonight on
full
base,
frontal.
So that I'm glad you gave me the heads up about the under. Well, let's talk about these games that we're going to pick. And Roberto, you wanted us to talk a little bit about New York, but we're going to talk about a different part of New York because we always pick Sunday night baseball. Sunday night baseball is the Phillies versus the Mets. This is in New York. Phillies were victorious tonight. Friday night, I believe it was 12-2. Laid a big number on them. And that's my Trey Turner bases hit hard. Alec Baum and JT Realmuto went deep for the Phillies. The Mets couldn't muster anything. Can they win on Sunday night, though, Nick?
I mean, the Phillies are hanging on. Wait, are they? Yeah. They got the Phillies. They got the East.
Phillies have the best record. Yeah,
I was right. No, I was confusing myself for a second. Mets are just hanging on right now. I don't know. It's starting to get to that point where the Mets are going to Met. The Cubs are starting to pick it up again. The Braves are still lingering. I got to go Phillies.
Nick loves Philadelphia. You heard it here first.
Joe, who you got? Bryce Harper. I'm taking Grimace. Let's fucking go all the way.
Yeah, I am also on the Mets bandwagon with that. Phillies have it in lock, and I think during prime time, the Mets. Oh, I forgot the video. Someone posted a video of them flying into LaGuardia as Edwin Diaz was coming into the game, and the light show was playing. Oh man, so cool!
Was it?
It's so cool. I'll share it with you guys if I haven't already. But yeah, I am taking the Mets also. I love the Mets. They're hot, and when you're a hot team heading into the playoffs, it's going to be tough. I think the Braves have lost their chance at getting the playoffs, in all honesty, with the way they played in the last few games. But we'll talk about that later. We move on to football, Sunday night football. We have the Chiefs visiting the Falcons. Chiefs favorite at minus 162. Falcons home dogs plus 136. Joe, who you got?
I mean, it worked out so well the first time. Let's pick against the Falcons. I'll take Kansas City.
I am going to go with the Chiefs also in this game, even though I don't have a sneaking suspicion. I think this will be, I do feel like this will be a much closer game than it appears to on paper. And I'm calling a Justin Simmons interception of Patrick Mahomes. Ooh. Nick, who you got?
I got to go with the clean sweep.
All right. So everyone pick the Falcons because we're idiots.
Go Falcons.
Next, we move on to game 1 of 2 on Sunday Night Football. We'll start off with the Jaguars visiting Buffalo. Jaguars dogs at plus 190. Bills favorite at minus 230. This is a weird one because the Jaguars typically collapse at the end of the season. So them being a dog that big, I would honestly take the points for them to cover. And I really, really want to take the Bills here.
I love that logic. It's too early for late season Jaguars meltdown.
It is, and I really want to, it's like I should take the Bills. I should take the Bills for this game, and there's a part of me that says the Jaguars, but I can't take the Jaguars in this game in Buffalo. Nick, who you got?
Yeah, give me the Bills all the way.
Buffalo all the way.
Buffalo
Joe, are we
sweeping
sweeping two straight?
this time? I'm thinking about taking the Jacksonville Jaguars just because fuck it. I think the Bills are going to win. They're firing on all cylinders. They've got the everybody eats mentality right now. They seem to have talented playmakers at every position. They don't need anyone to beat Stephon Diggs anymore.
You know what? So you don't have to. I'm taking the Jaguars.
No, I'm gonna do it. Might as well. Jacksonville's got a lot of speed. Trevor Lawrence is still a great quarterback. Their offense is still solid. They just need to, figure it out. Get firing on all cylinders. Just throw 2 or 3 touchdowns to Evan Ingram. They'll be fine.
And we move on to the last game then.
Also, Colin changed his pick. He's also taking Jacksonville.
You heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first, folks.
I love Jacksonville. Well, the Washington Commanders go on to Cincinnati to face the Bengals, big dogs in the biggest spread of the week. Commanders plus 260 underdogs, Bengals minus 325 home favorites. Joe, Nick, who you got?
I gotta go Cincy because that's my quarterback right now.
This one I have a feeling is going to be a clean sweep too because I'm taking Cincinnati also.
If I didn't take Jacksonville, then every pick would have been a sweep, and we would have lost.
And we all would have been wrong.
Exactly.
Except for Nick choosing the Phillies.
Yeah, well, you can't have them all. But yeah, I'm gonna take the Bengals too because they're a good team, and Washington is talented. They'll surprise somebody at some point this year. I don't think this is that time.
Yeah, pretty straightforward week as far as football goes, but there is one possible no touchdown game out there.
What is it? Yeah, Collins White Whale. What are we thinking?
The possible no touchdown, man. It is not New England. It's not New England because they just played. I just had it in my head. Hold on. 2 seconds. 2 seconds, everybody. The possible no touchdown game. New York Giants, Cleveland Browns.
That's a good one.
No touchdown. Or Bears Colts. Bears Colts is the other one, but their defense is probably going to score a touchdown. I'm telling you. I don't think I'm putting any bets on it this weekend, but I think the Colts, I think that the Giants-Browns game would be the no touchdown game if there was any.
All right. Roberto seems to agree. Giants definitely no touchdowns at this rate.
Yeah, but he's a sad Giants fan, so of course, we've all been there when our team is terrible and we just don't expect anything good out of them. We're right there about the Broncos offense.
I chose no touchdowns last week, and the Broncos defense let me down even after all the damn penalty yards that they got. Whatever.
Oh, man. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight as Colin sends us night driving.
Oh, I almost clicked on something else. I was going to go into space, but we're night driving now.
All right, we're night driving. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Roberto, for jumping in and having a little fun with us there in the chat. We do appreciate when you guys do that as well. We love interacting with you guys, and it's always fun. Colin, we love you. Joe, you're amazing.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Fans
we're talking about your favorite team. If
you're the
want
best
to
of
comment,
everybody.
We don't care.
Thank you again for tuning in. Check out e5280sports.com for everything else involving everybody else that's around us. Don't forget our sponsor, Pikes Peak Sports Cards. Thank you, Michael Spillin, and everybody over at E5280 Sports for hosting us. Until Sunday night, we thank you guys. We love you guys. Enjoy sports and sleep well.
Happy birthday again, Aunt Ronnie.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy 14th, Aunt Ronnie.
14th.
Full stretch.